Recording, actually, like we do every week. Who's got something fun, exciting, a positive, a win, something cool that happened in your business that you would like to share with the group? Wow.
Well, I don't know where Marie went, but I don't know where Marie went, but we got a lead off of our email, sending out mass emails. And so we got a lead today, and I talked to the guy on the phone, and Marie's husband actually went and met him. So I don't know if it turned out to be anything yet, but it happened.
Awesome.
It really happened. Yeah. Well, you know what it was? Our skip trace list comes back with emails. And so we took all the emails and had them in REI reply, and then sent out groups of messages, and a ton of them are wrong emails, but some of them are right. And one of them was right. And the guy called me today. He doesn't want to sell till June. He sounds like he's top end and stuff, but there's always room. It was something. It was a lead. Somebody got our email. That's what I'm saying.
I love it. I love it. Awesome.
Yep. So
Who
it
else
was
has got
good.
something good, fun, exciting, positive that they'd like to share? Something that's going on in the business. Was that a hand, James? Oh, Kyle, go ahead.
I was gonna share. Business has been busy, and actually dropped my boat interior off to a guy, and now he wants me to do some work for him as well. So that was pretty cool. And I use that app to get some of my jobs. I only use about 40% now, if that. But I went through been getting some good 5-star reviews there, and checked through those, and just thought it was cool. I was curious how many there were. So there was 75 reviews. They're all 5-star except for 3. I thought that was pretty awesome.
I love it. How's 75 hard going for you, by the way?
It's going good.
Yeah.
Got my jug of water right here. I just buy one of these $2 things every morning. Rock it out. Get my morning yoga in. Stretching's always good.
Awesome.
Night road.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Sean, we can barely hear you.
Anybody else having a hard time hearing?
Yeah, your volume's a little low.
Yeah, it definitely is.
How about now?
Not so much.
Is that better? Are you able to hear now?
A little bit.
That actually sounds a little better.
Well, I don't know. I've got it cranked about as high as it'll go.
Oh yeah, that one's too much.
How about now?
That sounds kind of a little better. On the money.
Trying to go with a little better audio today because we're going to be using these for other things. So that sounds better, Roger?
But can you turn it up just a little bit? Sounds like you got a knob there that you can just a little bit.
That's about it. If I go any higher, it starts to flash at me, which is when you were telling me it was too much.
Too loud. I think that's good right there. We'll kind of go through the shares before we actually get into the content here, just to make sure the audio is good.
All right, cool. Anybody else got anything?
Yeah, we've got one.
Let's hear it.
Got a contract, house under contract last week up in Waynesville, North Carolina. One house, 3 lots. So we're going to tear it down and put up 3 more houses there. And looking at getting another contract here in Charleston, South Carolina. Walked it today. So the guy came down a little bit more and found out my dad has money tucked away. He wants to do a PML and loan full purchase price plus rehab.
Boom. Got dad coming into the mix.
So yeah, I was leery to ask him, but then he's like, well, I've got some money from this house I sold 5 years ago that's not doing anything. I'm like, oh, you do?
Nice.
I can make it work.
Cool. Anybody else before we dive into content here tonight?
We've got two external people. One's takes care of the hoarders and does cleanup, and another one does lawn maintenance. So are going to be writing blog stuff for us. So a little article, and we're going to link back to them and try to get vice versa. Neither of them have a website right now, so got to work on that.
Cool. Maybe we can work on your excitement level about that. You sound like you're sleeping while you tell us that.
It's been a long day.
All right.
Might want to turn it down just a bit, Sean. Just kind of testing your audio here before we get into the slides.
That's fine. I haven't used this mic in a while, so the settings aren't set for this one. They're normally set for our Wednesday podcast. So does that sound
That
better?
one actually sounds pretty good right there. There was a little bit of static,
Perfect.
but that one sounds pretty good.
Like I said, I was trying to make a little better audio today. It's funny because part of what I'm about to teach you guys is audio is the key of a lot of this stuff. So with that being said, we are going to dive into some stuff. And if you guys were on the call last week, you heard us talk about that we're going to be kicking off a series. Tonight's the first night of it. It's going to go this week, next week, and the following week. And how many of you guys read the post in the Facebook group today about telling your deep, dark secrets? No? All right, I'm just going to cancel the Facebook group. We're going to quit making any posts in there. I'm also going to cancel all of the calls after tonight because you guys obviously don't care enough to use it, right? Or be in it. If nobody's even reading those things or being on there. So I know Jordan did because he told me that was a very disturbing thing that I put in there. But if you read it, you understand what we're going to be getting into tonight. To sum it up, you don't tell the person you just met your deep, dark secrets the night you meet them. The same goes true in marketing for your customer. So we're kicking off this series tonight all around this whole series over the next couple of weeks is really how do we get eyeballs, things that are actually happening on our website, people that are seeing it, people that are seeing our content, people that are seeing our stuff that we put out there. How do we get them from just seeing it to actually wanting to do something with us? And we are starting tonight at the very base end of the customer journey. You guys have heard Roger and I talk about this like crazy over the last couple months. The bottom set of this customer journey is all around awareness, engagement, and subscribe. Until we can get them to that point, we really can't do much more with them. So tonight we're going to really dive deep into the awareness end of things and start our transition into the engage piece of the customer value journey. Now, before we get going too deep into it, I want to talk about what I call the mirror effect. Everything I'm about to teach you tonight, next week, and the following week doesn't matter a dime if you are out there thinking or looking at your marketing and looking at your business as how can I make a quick buck? How can I hurry up and find somebody to do business with? How can I hurry up and get somebody to do business with me? How can I hurry up and get somebody to pay me money or get an opportunity where I'm going to make money? If we're going at it with that idea or that mindset, nothing I teach you the next 3 weeks will work. It doesn't matter how good it is, how slick it is, how dialed in you get everything. And the reason we call it the mirror effect is because it shows. If you're going at it thinking, hey, I'm just here for the quick dollar, it's going to reflect, it's going to show, it's going to look desperate, it's going to sound desperate. And consumers today, I think it's gotten worse actually since 2020 kicked off. COVID got in our way, and the way consumers are changing their behaviors, I think they're able to sniff out the fakes, the fluffs, right? The bad attempts, the people that are only there for the dollar. I think consumers are able to sniff that out a lot faster. And that's why it's called the mirror effect, because you go at that approach and they can see it from a mile away and it will not convert anything over. So as I said, we are going to be dialing deep into these bottom three. This is the customer value journey. A lot of you guys have had access to this document over the the last year plus. I did this exact presentation about a year ago. Some of you guys were our clients then. It'll be a refresher. Others of you were not our clients. This is going to be the first time you're going to hear me go through this. But this customer value journey, it's been up in the portal. You've had access to it. And all I'm focusing tonight really is around aware and engage. So think aware is nothing more than the prospect just happened to see you. Whether it was an ad, whether it was somebody told them about you, whether it was signage that you had out, whether it was something online, a social post, they just saw you. And tonight we're going to talk about what is the content that drives that? What is the content that I need to be putting out that helps drive this awareness so that people get to know who the heck I am, so that they then can move to the engagement phase. And on this slide here, you can see there's a number of different types of content per stage, as well as the traffic. Where does the traffic for that content come from? But what I want you to take in right now is each of these stages, awareness into engagement. How many of you guys have ever watched track and field and seen the relay races where they're running and it's my leg, right? And all of a sudden I get to the end of my leg and I have to hand this baton to Roger because it's now Roger's turn to run his leg of that relay race. Content in these three phases is the exact same idea. The content you use in your awareness phase hands the baton over, passes the baton, in essence, to the next phase, meaning you want to get your customer going from aware into engagement. You need to hand the baton to them that takes them to the next piece. This will make more sense when we dive deeper into it. But I wanted you guys to see a lot of the content. If you look deep enough at this image, a lot of the content is the exact same types of content, right? What type of content can I use in the awareness as it is in the engage? And it starts to make a change when we get to the subscribe, and that'll be more next week in there. Just because the content is the same type of content outlet, right? Whether it's blog, video, podcast, whatever, doesn't mean it's the exact same piece. So we have to hand the baton over. We have to move the prospect, the customer, across this path with us. So with that being said, what are we going to cover tonight? We are going to start with, I got my phone ringing over here. We're going to go over the goals at this awareness stage. It's really simple. There's only a handful of goals that we are trying to achieve here. And if we achieve these at a high level, we've mastered the awareness and engage phase. I'm going to talk about 5 what we call wrappers. Wrappers are nothing more than just something that holds, houses, wraps around. 5 content wrappers that you can use. We're also going to get into the types of content in these stages. We'll talk briefly about your marketing posts and what they should be about, as well as how often that you should be posting some of this content. What's the frequency on there? We're also going to get into how you should try to get traffic. Really, there's only 2 ways to get traffic over to it. We're going to get deep into those. And then we're going to wrap it up with the goals of the awareness and engage stage in this journey. Like, what is the goal for the customer in here? Now, before I get too deep into the 4 main goals, and I'm going to actually de-share my screen over here so that you guys can see. Can you guys see the whiteboard a little bigger right now? How many of you guys have ever heard of the red ocean, blue ocean when it comes to marketing? Has anybody heard this saying before? So the red ocean is where it's highly competitive. Why is it called the red ocean? It's because there's a lot of sharks, right? It's very competitive in there. When Roger talks SEO, the red ocean is high competitive markets or very high competitive keywords. It's hard to kind of break free and be a dominant force in a pool or in an ocean that's full of a bunch of sharks. It's nicknamed the red ocean because it's a bunch of sharks. It gets very bloody. it's not always the most ethical marketing attempts going on in there, right? Hence the red ocean. Now, the other side of this is the blue ocean. Now, think of the blue ocean as this crystal clear, perfectly just meticulous Caribbean Ocean, deep blue. And some of you guys are like, yeah, I'd love to be there right now. But we look at it and we're like, man, that would be so amazing to be the only one swimming in it, right? We go underwater, we steal one of Roger's scuba diving pieces of equipment. We go down and we just get this vast blue ocean all in front of us. It's all to ourselves. The problem with that, yeah, we're the only person marketing in that ocean. We're the only one out there trying to catch any fish that are floating around in that ocean. The problem is, though, there's very little fish. It's so big, so wide open that it becomes really hard because there's nothing there. There's nothing out there yet. We're almost kind of in this new world that hasn't been formed yet. And this is the big problem that marketers, aka business owners who are marketing their business, have. They either spend way too much time in the red ocean because they're just trying to compete, or they go, you know what? Screw it. I don't want to compete with everybody else. I'm going to go way out here in the deep blue ocean all by my lonesome, and I'm going to try to market, and then they get frustrated because I'm doing it. I'm marketing. I'm doing what I'm supposed to. Roger and Sean, they said to do this. They said to do that. I'm doing it, and I'm getting nothing. People are looking at me, but they're not doing anything. The trick is, and what we're going to achieve over the coming weeks here, is you want to be right here in the middle. And we call that the purple ocean. We call that the purple ocean. It's a mixture of the red and a mixture of the blue. We're not kind of competing with all the sharks, the high achievers, right? The top of the line people, the dominant, the kings of that marketing space. But we're also not over here in this completely blue ocean by ourselves. What that really means to you guys is it's finding a subsection of your niche. A subsection of your niche. At the end of the day, every one of us on this call, we have a niche that our business is around, and we're not the only one in that niche. Nobody on this call has something so unique that you're the unicorn. Vanessa's not the only photographer. Jordan's not the only person that does credit consulting. Lorraine is not the only person that does mortgage notes. Eric is not the only investor that buys real estate. But if we try to just compete in the photography realm or the credit realm or the real estate buying realm, we're over here. So we need to find a subsection. Lorraine is actually a great example of finding a subsection in the real estate space because she's focused down to mainly on notes. But even more specific, her and I were talking on a call earlier today, what type of structure, right? What type of niche in that? And it's around this concept of joint venturing with the individual on the notes. Yeah, you could sell the note to somebody else, but there's a lot of others like that, right? But you've subset the niche down. Jordan, for example, credit consulting. Well, that's a broad scope, but he can subset that niche down to credit consulting for single women, credit consulting for insert, right? Whoever it is, young entrepreneurs, 0 to 3 years in business. Vanessa in her photography, photographer in heels. What's it subsetted down to? Content entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs looking for content creation, right? Content imagery. That's a subset of it. So she's playing more in the purple ocean, not over here where all the other photographers under the sun, everybody and their brother's got a camera and can take a photo and says that they can. But she's not way out here in left field in the blue ocean trying to create this new space. She said, hey, I'm a good photographer and I'm focusing on this niche right here. And that's it. This making sense so far? Give me just a quick thumbs up. Cool. So let's dive back into some slides here. Oops. Go here, share. And we're gonna go play. So 4 goals at this awareness and engagement stages. First goal is to do nothing more than what I call increase the applause rate. If you guys were not on a Zoom call and we were all in a room right now and I asked you to cheer, yell, scream as loud as you possibly can, clap like crazy, give me the biggest applause that you could ever give me. Yeah, just like Steven's over there whistling and stuff, right? That's an applause rate because it's loud, it's boisterous, right? That'd be far better than I'd say, hey, act like you hate me. And when I ask you for an applause rate, do nothing. Well, digitally, online with our content, with our marketing on that side, we get an applause rate. That applause rate is simple. It's the shares of our stuff. We put something on social media, somebody shares it out. It's the comments, the likes, the messages, the Instagram stories that get answered directly to, or my favorite, the last couple of days as I've kicked off 75 hard, Vanessa, my biggest cheerleader, giving me the little claps every day when I post the completed piece, right? That's an applause rate digitally. She's giving me this applause like, hey, I saw that, good job, cool, I like that. I like seeing you doing that type of thing, right? I ask a question online and somebody answers. I wrote a post today in the group. A couple of you gave me an applause rate. You answered the question, you read the post and you answered in the comments. As disgusting as my example was, you answered in the comments. But my applause rate sucked overall because 40 something of you saw the post and 3 of you actually answered. So the goal in this phase is to increase that. My watch is even having a hard time hearing me. Now, when you add all of these together, this is what we get as, this is how we can track or kind of say, hey, how well is our applause rate doing? Are we getting shares? Are we getting comments? Are people liking our stuff? Are people mentioning us out there in the digital space online and referring things to us on things? Like an example comes to mind. There was a post that I don't even think, V, you were part of the group or part of this, you even knew the person, but somebody asked a question about photographers, I think around the San Diego area or something, and I immediately tagged Photographer in Heels and Vanessa, because who comes to mind in that space for me? It's Vanessa. Well, that was an applause rate online. Somebody mentioned you, right, and push that out. And I know Roger will take this concept deeper in a couple of weeks when we dive into the basics of SEO. The bigger the applause rate, the bigger bang, right, that we're getting, the more power that things are coming back to us. So this is our goal right here. This is goal number 1 of the awareness and engage. It's not to get a customer. It's not to close a deal. It's not to make a sale. It's to just get people talking about us. Now, the second goal at this stage is to increase impressions. Impressions are nothing more than visits, views, sessions, things that are going on, right? They look at your posts. They spend time on your content, your blogs, your videos. Roger and I do a podcast every single week. Well, if I'm going to study how well's our impressions going on here, is how many people are joining us live? How many people are watching it later? How many are listening to the audio side? I want to increase that in this phase, which means I need to create content that makes people want to actually tune in, that's exciting to them, that gives value enough that they actually pay attention to it. If it's down, it's probably because I'm not putting out the information that they want to hear at that phase on there. If it's up, well, then that tells me, hey, keep doing that. Do more of that because it's helping increase that in this phase here. Now, the third goal is you're increasing time commitment. This is where I start to translate it to dating. Remember, the awareness phase is no different than I'm out at the bar or I'm over at the gym or I walk down the street and I happen to see Deanna. It's the first time I've ever seen Deanna. I just happened to walk by her. I'm now aware that she exists. Well, the goal in this phase is to not just get her to see that I see her and I exist and I realize that she exists. My goal in this awareness phase is to increase the amount of time she spends paying attention to me. Does she just see me and walk down the street away from me? Or does she see me and start to flirt a little bit? Does she see me come in the party from across the room and make a comment and then don't talk to me for a little while? Or does she come over and speak? And do we have a conversation, right? We're just starting to kind of be aware that each other are around. In the digital space, it's how long are they spending on your site? How long are they spending on a particular page? Let's say you have a really strong piece of content, like one page of your website around one of your services or products is detailed out. Roger will talk about this in the SEO side. That's your pillar page, right? It's the top of your silo. Well, how long are they spending on that page? If it's a video, what's the watch time? How long are they actually watching the video versus just noticing it and jumping off? Session durations, it depends on our type of business on there. That could be things like how many, I don't think Dr. Andrea is on here, but maybe she's got patients coming in and she's thinking like, how many durations, how many times of a patient is that person coming in? Is that increasing? If they came in once and they disappeared, we're not doing a really good job of getting them back to increase that time with us. And then audience retention. Audience retention is really good on stuff like live videos. If somebody logs in and is only there for a couple seconds and then leaves, versus you got good retention rate, meaning somebody sees that you go live, they tune in, they stay, they engage through it. The more we can increase that, the better that we're doing. So that's the goal here, is to just increase it. Whether that be the time on the site or the page or whatever. And the final goal in this phase, I'm gonna let it load so you guys see it, is increase the brand, basically your brand. We're trying to increase brand and offer awareness. Who you are and what you offer. Who you are and what you offer. That's all I'm trying to do here, are these 4 goals. Notice none of this content, none of this actions that are going on in this phase have anything to do with booking a call, getting somebody to call me, closing a deal, creating a new customer, selling a product. Because at the end of the day, marketing is just like dating. I can't ask the person to marry me the first time they meet me. I can attempt it. It probably won't work really well. So I have to smooth talk a little bit. I have to work up to exchanging of a phone number. I have to work up to going on some dates. I have to work, and the other way that I wrote this actually in the post today, I'm not going to, the first time that I meet Marie and she knows nothing about TRC, there's no way I'm gonna go up and tell her about my weird fetish of sleeping with my hair back when I had hair, that I kept it all and I have it in a little thing and I sleep with it at night. She'd be like, this dude's a freak and there ain't no way in hell I'm doing business with TRC, right? By the way, did I just increase the awareness in applause rate virtually? Even though you guys are all muted, guess what every one of you are doing right now?
Yeah, you just made me vomit a little bit in my mouth.
Good. How many of you guys smiled, laughed, caught the joke, right? That's increasing retention. It's increasing engagement in this piece. I just did all this stuff. We're on a live video at the moment. All right. That is the goal here. That is the goal. Now, when you understand the goals, now we can shift to what is the types of content? What is it that we actually are going to put out there? And to do that, I sum it up with what we call wrappers. I'm not talking about Vanilla Ice or MC Hammer or Tupac or any of that. We're talking about how do I wrap up a bunch of information that can help me in these phases. And there's 5 very staple, easy to use ones. And the first one is called the list. The list wrapper is nothing more than a list of things like resources, Could be books, it could be events, it could be a list of posts. Maybe it's a list of a few different articles that you have on your site that provide a lot of knowledge and information, right? There's no sale behind it. There's no push for it. It's just a list of really good resources. Jordan has a great list wrapper in a sense that he has built out right now with a couple blogs that he's been putting out. Those are list content pieces. It's blogs around, hey, go here for this, go here for this. This is a resource for this. This is a resource for this type of piece. Maybe it's tools. If your business is the type that needs tools, apps, software, technology, Roger can build an entire list wrapper around tools for the SEO world, for the SEO space. It'd be a great piece of content to put out there with these different tools that we know are really good for those type of pieces of research or planning or whatever the case. Maybe it's tips. Vanessa, I think I saw you actually do something about, or it may have been somebody else that I follow as well that would fit on the photography side. Tips around the best type of clothing to wear for a photo shoot. This one I know was somebody I followed, was like what to bring to a multi-outfit photo shoot to make life easier. Well, let me give you like 6 tips around that. And she was going through this whole breakdown of wear layers, because layers speeds up the process. You don't need 5 pairs of shoes. You only need 1 pair of shoes. Most of the time, your feet aren't even going to show, right? She was going through these tips and tricks kind of thing. Well, that was a list wrapper piece of content. Statistics. Statistics was one. Who saw the video that I posted last week in our group Facebook? And then Itzel actually posted it over on our TRC Instagram, where I was showing statistics of Q1 into Q2, our sales statistics. Well, that's a statistic piece of content. It was a list of statistics of showing this one over here. Maybe it's a list of people's, brands, this type of stuff, right? List is a very easy, it's why I have it as number 1 on this list. List type content is a very easy one to produce for pretty much any industry out there. Now, the second one of these 5 is the how-to. This one's really good when you're going to start to do video. This one is really good in the video space, but a how-to is nothing more than showing them how to execute a process from end to end. I've been doing more of these. Deanna and I are building out this kind of fun brand, travel brand. It's called the Sierra Life. You guys should go follow it on follow it on Facebook, Instagram, but more so go subscribe to the YouTube channel so I can push that subscriber count up a little bit. But it's something that we've been doing where I've been creating these how-to videos for certain things on our travel trailer. I did one over the weekend, last weekend, how to install additional USB charging ports. I just put out another one the other day, how to install this lagoon table between the 2 beds on a specific brand of trailer, right? The GeoPro G15TB that her and I own for our canyoneering stuff. Well, these how-to videos, when we're uploading them to YouTube and we're putting them out into the different groups, it's to draw awareness to the Sierra Life, because what's phase 2 behind all this? Deanna's creating a clothing brand, a clothing line for the Sierra Life, this mountain life, tank tops, t-shirts, hats, this type of stuff. So I'm using the fact that we're in these groups with all of these different GeoPro owners to create content that brings awareness to Sean, Deanna, and the Sierra Life. So that when we bring that next phase out, they're already aware of who we are. They're already aware that these are 2 adventure individuals who love to travel with a trailer and do certain things, and they're knowledgeable in these spaces, and they're already starting to build a identity around it, right? So it's really just establishing, as it says on that slide right there, establishing yourself or your brand as the authority. The how-tos, Roger and I put one out every week. Our WebBuzz podcast is really a how-to staple. It is like a how-to wrapper. We get into all the how-tos on a lot of different things on that podcast. Another one, loading a little slow on your end, is the answer. I talked about this one, I think last week, or it was the week before on the call after the call. The answers. It's just answering questions that your customers are already asking you, asking your support, or asking you during the sales process. It's answering questions that your team is asking, right? Let's say if Itzel or Max or Nimitz on our team was constantly asking the same question over and over again that they didn't even understand about things that we do, that'd be a good content piece to put out for our prospects and our potential clients out there. It could be questions that your customers should be asking. You wish they would ask you. Nobody asks you it because they don't know what they don't know. We'll do some content around those questions. Or customers are asking Google, and this one's going to come in big in a couple weeks. Roger will show you guys how do you leverage Google to be able to figure out what are people asking, okay? This one is a little bit more advanced, but still doable for a lot of you guys. It's called the interview. Whether you're interviewing in written form, maybe you sit down and just talk to, maybe I have no idea who Roger is, but I meet him and I find out he's a really good SEO guy. He kind of manipulates Google's algorithm in the middle of the night so that it favors him. And I'm like, man, I want to talk to Roger more. And I just sit down and I talk to him for an hour, 2 hours. But then I write a blog for my business about some of the things that Roger, and I introduce my audience to this Roger guy, right? And I'm bringing this expert in that, hey, this is what the expert, Roger, had to say about this, this, and this. Maybe it's a video interview. Something in this space, right? Publishing interviews with experts, even your customers. Some of you guys I'm going to be reaching out to later this week. You were on a call a couple weeks ago and you won something fun. Well, guess what? I'm going to interview you, is what I'm doing. It's a piece of content that we can put out there that's going to build awareness for who TRC is. What does TRC do? And who are the types of clients TRC supports? Because I'm interviewing you guys, our customers, our clients. It could be employees. It could be your partners. It could be a number of different people. But interview is another good one. And you guys see at the bottom here, it could be guests that you do to a podcast. It could be Facebook Lives. It could be Instagram Lives. There's a number of different ways that you can put it out there. The idea is you're just interviewing individuals that are experts. He who hangs out with an expert is automatically looked like an expert. Why? Because the expert was willing to give that person time. You must be valuable enough to get an expert's time to sit down and talk. You're not just a nobody, right? Now, this one here, the news, this one is you've got to be on point. The first bullet point right there, be timely by publishing trends. The news is a good wrapper to use. It's a good piece to put out there, talking things that are related news-wise. But what do I mean by you got to be on point? Trying to put stuff out about COVID right now, a year after it's all been going on, isn't going to help you. Matter of fact, it's probably going to hurt you. However, last year, this time, right when I did this presentation, we actually jumped right on it and we started to produce a couple blogs that were talking about small businesses needing to get online because of what COVID was doing and what was happening with all the lockdowns. That was on the point type news, right? And it actually gave us some value out of it. So news is, you got to be the trends, you got to be on top of the trends or the issues, things that are going on in your space for that to be a value one. But news is a option that's out there. Now, how do we deliver these, right? You guys understand the goals, you understand what kind of content is a good wrapper for it. How do we get it out there? Well, blog articles leads the list, and that'll make more sense when Roger gets into the SEO side, why we consistently push back onto the blog side. Content is king on a website. It's the piece that's going to really separate you from the competition that's out there. So written content that actually attracts your avatar. It's written towards your avatar. Not only is it bringing an SEO power, but it's bringing credibility. Roger, actually write this down for your presentation. I'd love to know like a current stat of how many people today are searching questions online. And it's not just searching, they are typing like full-blown questions, not just one or two keywords. This is why blog articles lead the way. Podcasting, it could be a number of different ways, video or audio, and that's why I've got podcasting and video kind of side by side right here. They're the next two that kind of lead the charts. Video is obviously the leader in all of this. So whether that's just doing live videos, whether that's recording it and posting it later, whether that's doing a more podcast style where it's just kind of raw, uncut, and just discussion, or is it video where it's more tutorial style or more kind of formalized a little bit more of a script in there. But the big thing I want you guys to take away on the video, I put it in there as number 1 and number 2. When you're creating videos, either make 1 or 2. Don't try to land in the middle. Meaning, either go after and do high production videos where you actually sit down, you record it, you give it to somebody that can edit it, that can make it all fancy and flashy and put it up there, or just say screw it and just do your phone. A low production phone style recording. Don't try to land in the middle like, well, I can kind of get a good one here and maybe I'll try to make it too flat. Pick. At the end of the day, what's the key is the audio. Can they actually understand what you're saying? Does it sound good? People are okay with in the moment, cell phone shot, really quick. Vanessa's Instagram story is a perfect example of it. She's out on her morning walk, run with the dog, working out, and she gets done and she's always got her thought of the day. And she's in her workout gear and she's just hanging out and she's sitting there on the steps, in the moment, spewing what's on her mind about things. That is perfectly fine. It is not high production. It's not high quality, but man, it was good content and it drove home a message. And it's consistent. I know every day I can go to Vanessa's Instagram feed and see it. That every day she's going to have that probably 4 or 5 video clip piece on that story of her talking about thought of the day kind of thing. And I don't even know if it's a thought of the day that you're actually trying to put out, but that's how I look at it, right? It's like, man, what's Vanessa's thought of the day when I'm, scrolling through Instagram story feeds. Again, it sounds good. It's in the moment. It's great. It's not high production. Now, there's other things that I look forward to that are high production. You can tell they put some love behind it. They had somebody edit it out. Great. Just pick one of the other, right? For many of you guys, it's this battle of, well, I only have my phone and I got to try to figure it. Just do it. Just do it. Okay. Blogs obviously lead the way. Videos right behind it. The audio side, if that's all you're capable of doing, or you're too shy to be on the camera, audio is okay. And then bringing up the rear is social updates. Producing content that people will stop scrolling, right? Social media is becoming more noisy. It is the red ocean. Social media is nothing more than a place to build awareness. It really does not matter on social media how perfect your stuff is, because the pace that people are moving on social media, it's gone and out of their mind 60 seconds after they saw it. Unless it's a really good piece that they actually want to save it, screenshot it, share it, something like that. So if you just put something out there and it wasn't the best piece in the world, who cares? Get over it, move on, because the person that sees it is doing the exact same thing. Not every piece that you have to put out there needs to be so perfect that it's completely shareable, savable, all that stuff, right? But maybe a list that comes to mind, the fastest way for you to get it out is throw it out on social media. Sometimes I'll do this. I think I did this a couple weeks ago. I'll jump on Twitter, not that I even care about my Twitter feed, but I'll jump on Twitter with a thought in my head and I'll blast it out as a tweet. But then I screenshot that. And I'll use that in like an Instagram story where I'm trying to target a few other people, or I know the people over there are a little different audience, or maybe I'll post that somewhere else. But at least I got the thought out of my head over here on Twitter and it gave me something that I can use over here, right? The idea is just getting it out. Social media is so fast, but remember the name of it, social. Yes, our business, we need to be consistent, put consistent information out there, but just because you are putting consistent information out or you're outsourcing that consistency to someone like TRC with our social packages doesn't mean you, the business owner, or you, the face of the business, shouldn't be socially involved in your social media. Social media is about being interactive. It's about being social on there. The big bulk of your content that's going to go out is going to come from those blogs, those videos, these type of pieces. Now, what should it be about? What should these lists, these how-tos, all the different wrappers that we just talked about, what should they be about? Ask yourself these 3 questions. What is my ideal customer researching before they would buy my product or service? What is the person I'm targeting? What is my ideal avatar looking for? What information do they consume before they decide to buy my product or decide to use a service that I provide? That is question number 1. Anything that comes to mind should be content that's created. Question number 2, what is the primary pain point of my ideal customer? What is their pain point? Roger and I can sit here and say that the primary pain point of our ideal audience is the fact that they hate trying to figure out how to deal with their website. So what does our foundation package target? Gets the website off your hands, gets the maintenance off your hands. We've got the team in place, right? It's easy. We are answering the pain point the customer has. Question number 3, what objections does my ideal customer have to buying or using my product or service? Now, this one here is when you know what the objections are, you want to create content around those objections that squash it out. And what I mean by squash it out is you really want to start to point out, let's say it's money. Well, I don't want to use Vanessa in her photography because I got an iPhone 12 and it takes really good photos and it costs me nothing to do this. And Vanessa's service costs me money. Well, Vanessa knows that's an objection. So what kind of content could she create to nip that one in the butt? Well, what's it actually costing me? It might not be costing me physical money to use my iPhone, but what is it costing me? Time, because I can't take all the photos by myself. I got to try to line somebody else for it. Time, because, well, it probably didn't get taken perfect and I want to clean it up and edit it and tweak it a little bit. That's time I got to spend in there. What else is it costing me? Well, right, she can go down this list of what are the things that it's costing me, even though it's not costing me money. And it's against the objection that she knows that I'm throwing out. And you want to do that for every single type of objection that your prospect, your client, your ideal individual would be having. This is the content that should be happening at the awareness and engage. They're just becoming aware. They're just starting to engage with you. This is the type of content that they're consuming. These 3, if you just ask these 3 questions consistently to yourself, I bet you guys would find easy 52 weeks worth of content year over year, because things change so fast in your industries. Things change with your audience so fast, right? To keep creating content around those. Now, how often should you post? When I say post, how often should you be putting content out there? A good rule of thumb is to be publishing at least 2 to 3 times per week at a minimum. At a minimum. So obviously that's going to be more on things like social media. Roger could probably put a good argument out there why 2 blogs a week versus 1 blog a week would be a lot better, right? That's the good rule of thumb that we want to get to, is thinking I want content going out at least at a minimum 2 to 3 times a week or more. The more we do, the more content we push out, the more noise. Content equals noise. Okay? Good content, not just slapping anything together though. I'd rather see 2 pieces of really good content go out than 7 days, 7 pieces of terrible, disgusting, half-assed content head out. Find out how often your competition just go look at your competition. Matter of fact, I've tasked Itzel with this a couple different times as we've taken on some new industries for ourselves that Roger and I have gotten involved in. And I've told her, go look at the competition and let's just mimic what they're doing. If the competition's doing well in business, just mimic them. How often are they putting it out? That's how often you need to be putting it out. Now, none of us on this call are publishers, so don't need to worry about it. But if let's say you were a publisher, like a news publisher or something like that, obviously you need to be posting frequently, multiple times a day on that one. If you're willing to buy traffic, this is getting into some kind of next layer pieces here, but if you're willing to buy the traffic, PPC, for example, pay-per-click, you may not need to post a bunch because you may just need maybe 1 or 2 really good pieces that you're buying the traffic to. You're basically paying to play at this point. Most of us on this call, though, we're looking for the organic, the free, right? The natural growth traffic. The only way to get that to increase is to put more and more out there. Now, once we have the content up, how do we actually get it out? Like, how do we get the traffic to it? SEO is obviously the top of the charts from a organic end of things. And this is why I'm doing this presentation over the next couple of weeks first, so that you understand all of the components here, so that when Roger teaches the SEO side, we already know what we're creating. Now we just need to match it to the SEO end of things so that we can get eyeballs over to it. Social media channels are also another good organic traffic source to the content. Notice I said social media channels, organic traffic strategy to the content. Not that the social media is 100% the primary place. And then the other way to get traffic is paid. Big difference here. SEO, social media channels, these type of things, they're like rain. You know it's going to happen at some point. But what you don't have any idea is, when is it going to rain? Where is it going to rain? I can't really force the rain to come. It may rain on the south side of LA today and not hit us here in the valley. I can't change that, but it did rain, meaning I did get some traffic, but it didn't really get to the piece of content I wanted it to get to. Whereas digital advertising, or what's also known as PPC, this is like a hose. I can direct the water anywhere I want it to go. The only difference is, as soon as I turn that water on, I start paying for it, right? As soon as I start letting water run through that hose, I'm paying for it. The key is I can decide where it's going. That's the big difference. So if we're going to go organic, we have to understand not every piece that we put out is going to get the traffic that we thought or want or hope. It's our job to keep producing, to keep pushing the traffic, to keep trying to guide them. And go back to the start of this presentation when I talked about it's like a relay. This piece of content needs to hand them over to this piece that needs to hand them over to this piece. And how do you do it? You tell them. You tell them what you want to do. And I'm just going to keep picking on you, Vanessa, because I like picking on you. I hope Michael's not in the background listening to this right now. But if I met Vanessa last year and thought she was cute and fun and exciting, and I wanted to actually go on a date with her and date her a little bit and get to know her deeper, and I never said a word to her about it, and a year later she gets married, I can't be pissed that she got married and it wasn't to me, right? Because I didn't tell her what I wanted the next steps to be. I let her just kind of decide and choose and hope that maybe she would catch on to what I was doing. Not that that is the truth in any way, shape, or form, but it was a fun analogy, right? But if I instead, let's reverse the roles here for kind of go back and replay that. I meet her, I find her fun, exciting, and entertaining, and I think there's something cool here. And I say to her, hey, I'd love to get your number. Hey, I'd like to talk to you more. Hey, I'd like to take you to coffee. Hey, I'd like to take you on dinner. Well, you see how I'm passing the baton from one step to the next step to the next step now? Content's the same thing. Hey, here's this piece. Tell me in the comments, what do you think about this? What else do you need? How's this helping? Hey, if you like this, go check this out. Go watch some YouTube channels, some YouTube videos, and constantly throughout the video, if they're a good YouTuber, they're mentioning, hey, I'm going to link that in this card above, or I'm going to link that down in the descriptions about this other topic that I have over here. Or at the end of the video, it's like, hey, if you got value out of this, check out this one or this one over here that I've got. Why? They're passing the baton. They're moving them from this content piece to the next content piece to keep them consuming. Netflix does this phenomenally. You just got done watching this. Because you watched this, how about you check out this one, this one, this one, this one, right? Always passing the baton. It's not a dead end. You don't just leave it open at the end like, okay, cool, my prospect customer, hope you have a nice day. Maybe you'll come back and talk to me again, or maybe you'll read my next blog that goes out, kind of thing. No, tell them, hey, if you got value out of this, subscribe to my newsletter where you'll get notified every single week when I put a new blog out. Hey, you got value out of this? Follow me on these other channels over here where I put all this other stuff out. Just tell them what you want to move them along. That will help it's our way of kind of helping guide the rain where we need the rain. But it's up to us to identify where do we need to shift, right? Where do we need to push those pieces to? And the final piece of this is engineering engagement. You guys have heard me talk about this before in the past, but engineering engagement is just doing what you see right here. Turn a glance into a stare. I tried to engineer some engagement on today's post. It told me at the time that I looked at it, like 8 or 9 of you guys had seen, or 8 or 9 people in the group had seen the post, yet there was no comments. And in the body of the post that I put out, I said, comment in the comment section what you think on this, if you've read this far. So I tried to engineer engagement by telling people, hey, I know 8 or 9 of you saw this and nobody's commenting on it. What is that? Why is that? Or when somebody likes it, sometimes I'll go in and tag, hey, Lorraine, I noticed you liked the post. What'd you think about it? Did you get any value from that? Right? Hey, Lorraine, I noticed you opened my email the other day and I never heard back from you. Just checking in to see how things are going. I'm engineering the engagement. I'm manually moving Lorraine from awareness to engagement phase, not waiting for her to do it. Does that make sense? Sometimes I think businesses are too afraid. Sometimes you guys are like sitting there going, well, I'm just waiting for them to comment and tell me that they're happy with me, or comment and tell me that they want to get on a call with me. How about you just ask them, hey, you want to get on a call? Lorraine, I noticed you've opened the last 6 emails that I've sent you and I haven't heard anything. I'm guessing you're getting value out of this. Would you like to jump on a 30-minute call and talk about how TRC can help you? Right? I'm basically saying, hey, Lorraine, I keep running into you at the coffee shop and we keep smiling and laughing at each other. Would you like to sit down and have coffee together one day? Taking control of it, right? Moving that prospect through the journey. With that, I'm going to open it up to questions, and I'm going to actually de-share over here so I can see everybody again on my screen. So questions, we're going to leave it open for about 5, 6, 7 minutes here for some questions and see what you guys have. Feel free to unmute and ask if you got something.
So sometimes the images don't really hit your target market. How do you deal with that?
Good question. I know exactly what you're talking about. Mr. Football Sports turns me off. To that point, was I trying to use a photo to target the entire audience today? No, not at all. But am I going to cry that 1 or 2 people may not align with a sports image in a, like, using just today's example, right? Yes, in the grand scheme of things, do we want all elements to kind of align? Should the photo kind of align with my ideal audience? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, if I'm targeting a broader scope, I was targeting all of our customers, all of our clients, you know, in that Facebook group today. I know some of them maybe aren't sports fans or wouldn't catch the analogy that SEO is like a strategic play and content is a strategic play, game plan wise. No big deal, right? So I guess to sum it up, I would say don't stress about it if the purpose wasn't to use all of it to target. If it was, then getting that feedback, and now I know in my head, all right, if I want to target a post out there and I really want to nail Steven, I better stay away from sports themes.
Yeah, I think the key piece there too is that you actually manufactured communications there. Because had you not done that, I would not have seen it at all. Even though it says that I saw it, I didn't see it. So that was a nice piece that, hey, you came back and you got me, even though I wouldn't have normally seen that.
Yep. And that's that manufacturer engagement piece. And I've talked about that like crazy, right?
You do it like
Important.
crazy.
Huh?
You do it like crazy.
Why?
I see all your comments and mentions, and yeah,
Why?
it works. It must work.
100% it works. Why else would I do it, right?
Mhm.
Who else has got questions over anything we just talked about? I spewed a bunch of knowledge at you guys, so I'm sure some of it resonated, some of it may not have resonated yet.
Is it important to post at certain times that your clients are online?
Again, I'm going to go back to what I just told Steven. It depends on a number of factors. Depends on what's the purpose of the post. What am I targeting? Who am I targeting on there? Is it a group? Do I get so wrapped up in the times? Not really. Obviously, there are better days than other days. Sometimes there are better times than other times. But I go back to, again, at this phase, awareness and engagement. I'm not trying to create a sale. I'm just trying to create brand awareness and have consistency floating out there. I know not every single post or blog or video is going to nail the mark in the moment. But I consistently will get random comments or random likes or random notifications that somebody watched this video over here months and months later because they eventually got to the page, got to the profile, found it, saw the email, whatever it was, and viewed it or consumed it, right? That's the point of this content here. It's not so much. Now, when we dig deeper in a couple of weeks and we start talking about engagement into subscribe and subscribe into converting them into clients, absolutely, timing is everything. But it's not going to be a social post that's going to take somebody from engaging with you to converting into a client. A social media post won't do that. But a very strategically timed email will. Liz, Maria, why'd you guys get a lead from your email today? It was strategically timed for that person. It was the right time for that person to receive it and answer you. Does that make sense to everybody? And we'll get into that in a couple weeks here when we start digging deeper to that subscribe to convert phase.
So is it important to post your website and a phone number so there'll be a call to action?
Say that again, Segal.
Is it important to post your website and your phone number so they know who to ask questions?
Again, it depends on where. Not everything that I put out there needs to have my website or a phone number on it. Again, it's about awareness. Sometimes I'll just post about and drive traffic to a Instagram profile, or just drive traffic to a Facebook profile, or just the fact that it's out there and that they can see it. This goes back to if all your other stuff, aka most of you guys have it, you're all clients of ours, your website's optimized really well, it's got all of your contact information on there, your social media should just be basically optimized, it's got your information on it. If they want it, they'll get there, but I'm not in that phase right now. I'm in the build a brand awareness, build awareness, 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 awareness. That's it. I just want them to know that I exist. I got to get them there first. I can't get Deanna to marry me if Deanna doesn't know who I am. Now that she knows who I am, now we can start working on the convert phase, right? I got her from awareness. She engaged with me. I got her to subscribe, moved in together. Now we can start working on the convert, become a customer, become life partners, right? And there's different elements that'll be more important at different phases along the track. Anybody else? Questions? No? Thoughts? Ideas? Anything? We get value out of this? Yeah?
I want to throw something in there, Sean, just real quick, since everybody kind of just go back to both Sigal and Steven's question, and you kind of nailed it right there, right? Because right now we're talking about one topic, awareness, right? So during the awareness stage, it really doesn't matter, right? You can't have, it's like person that's trying to build a funnel but never finishes, never gets it live because you're trying to get it too perfect. Right now in awareness, the photos, you got to nurture that client. For Steven, in regards to the photos, you got to put all kinds of different ones because you don't know what's going to get that spark going for your audience. So you have to have the sports ones, you have to have the non-sports ones, all kind of stuff that you can. And then the data will tell you what to do. And from there, what's great about the awareness stage is that you're collecting data, right? You're collecting all that data. So when you get into the engage and then you start dealing with SEO and anything above that, now you have data that you can go off of. Now you can focus on sports types postings or whatever it might be. So right now, to Sean's point, we're focusing on awareness. So it's very important to like what we call throw spaghetti on the wall, right? Throw everything you can. Doesn't matter what time it goes out, what you put out, as long as it has something to do with your business. And then you'll start getting some data that's telling you what your audience likes. So hopefully that helps out a little bit.
Give you guys an example of that. You guys heard Roger and I talked a couple weeks ago, like TRC did everything we did over 2020 with zero paid advertising, no paid ads whatsoever. Well, one thing we're starting to dabble and play a little bit around right now is with some paid traffic. Now that we're in a position, it makes sense. We're going to test it. We're going to measure. We're going to do a couple things. Mike on our team today, he let loose on a small 5-day ad set on Facebook. I'm not 100% bought into the copy, right? The way it was written on that ad set. But I told him, let it go, run it. Let's run it for 5 days and let's see. Could it have, in my opinion, could we have changed it up, made it different, said something a little bit different, changed the way that the language was in there? Absolutely. But to Roger's point, it's data, right? The image that he used, there's a couple things on the image that I wish it said differently. I wish it had something else on the image. But hey, screw it. Run it for 5 days. Let's collect data against this audience that we're running it against. Let's see what the feedback is. Let's see what the impressions are like. What's the click-through rate? What happens with it? Then we'll run another one. Tweaked up, changed with some of the ideas I have. We'll run it again. And we'll compare the two. And if I feel like we got to change it again and run it again to get another sampling back, we run it again and get a sampling back. The idea is it's awareness level. This is an awareness campaign is all we're doing. It's just putting it out there, but we're buying eyeballs. That's the difference. I'm buying the eyeballs of the traffic onto it so that I don't have to wait for it to hit it. As soon as he hits start on that campaign, boom, it's getting put in front of the audience that we built out. And who knows, maybe they'll come back and say they're not sports fans and I'll stop using a sports photo. I'm not gonna let you live that down, Stephen. Next week, I'm going to quiz you on the most common wide receiver routes in a football game.
I knew what that was, I'd answer.
Anybody else got anything before we sign it off? A little longer than I wanted to go tonight, but wanted to get all that info out. Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your week. We will see you back here next week. We're going to kick to the next phase. We're going to talk how do we create more engagement and what content do we use to get them from that engage towards the subscribe, getting them to actually give us some information, right? How do we get them to take the next steps with us, go on a date, start doing more with us in this process. Okay. So you guys have a good one. We'll see you next week.
All right.